Walk with me, if you will, through the bustling markets of Sao Paulo. Here, the air is filled with the aroma of exotic spices, the chatter of vendors, and the vibrant colors of fresh produce. It's a sensory overload, a testament to the city's rich cultural tapestry. Feel the energy, the rhythm, the sheer life pulsing through the veins of this Brazilian metropolis. Every corner tells a story, every face a history. The streets are alive with music, laughter, and the unyielding spirit of its people. Now let's journey to the Philippines, where rice terraces carved over generations paint the landscape in shades of emerald green. These terraces are not just agricultural marvels, they are a testament to the ingenuity and perseverance of the Filipino people, a living heritage passed down through centuries. Finally, let's land in the heart of Africa, a continent bursting with diverse cultures, languages, and breathtaking landscapes. From the modern architecture of its cities to the vibrant street life, Africa is a mosaic of traditions and innovations, a place where the past and future coexist harmoniously. These are not images of poverty. These are scenes of joy, of community, of life being lived to its fullest. Children playing, communities gathering, and celebrations that light up the night sky. These are snapshots of resilience, of ingenuity, of vibrant life that defies the labels so often imposed from the outside. Local artisans crafting with skill and passion, farmers employing innovative techniques, and communities showing incredible resilience in the face of adversity. This is the Global South, a region brimming with untapped potential and untold stories, a region misrepresented by the reductive term Third World. Here, cultural festivals burst with color and tradition. Dances tell ancient stories, and celebrations bring people together in unity. It's time to challenge the narrative. It's time to see beyond the stereotypes and recognize the strength, the creativity, and the potential that lies within these regions. Activists are fighting for rights, community leaders are speaking out, and people are uniting for a better future. It's time to expose the lie. It's time to break the chains of oppression and tear down the barriers that have long held these regions back. The truth is powerful, and it's time for it to be revealed. The term Third World itself is a relic of a bygone era, a Cold War label that no longer reflects the realities of our interconnected world. Originally, it was used to describe countries that were neither aligned with NATO nor the communist bloc. But over time, it has morphed into a term that implies poverty, underdevelopment, and backwardness. This outdated label fails to capture the complexities and diversities of these nations. In today's globalized society, the term Third World is not just inaccurate, it is misleading. It paints a picture of a world divided into neat categories of wealth and poverty, progress and stagnation. But the reality is far more nuanced. Many of these so-called third world countries are vibrant, dynamic, and full of potential. But the narrative it perpetuates, the narrative of inherent poverty and lack, persists. This narrative is not just a harmless relic of the past. It has real-world consequences. It shapes how we perceive these countries and their people, and it influences international policies and aid programs. We are bombarded with images of starving children, dilapidated villages, and desperate pleas for aid. These images, while often genuine, tell only a fraction of the story. They focus on the symptoms of poverty without addressing its root causes. These images, while often genuine, tell only a fraction of the story. They obscure a far more insidious truth that the Global South is not poor, it has been made poor. The focus on charity and aid can sometimes distract from the systemic issues that perpetuate poverty. Consider this: the world's richest 1% own more than half of the world's wealth. This wealth has not materialized out of thin air. It has been accumulated, often through centuries of extraction, exploitation, and unfair trade practices that continue to this day. The Global South is not lacking in resources, it is overflowing with them. From the cobalt in Congo that powers our smartphones to the diamonds of Botswana that adorn our jewelry, the Global South has been the source of immense wealth for the Global North. Yet, the wealth generated from these resources rarely benefits the people of the Global South. Instead, it flows to multinational corporations and wealthy elites in the Global North. This is not a coincidence. It is the result of a global economic system designed to benefit the few at the expense of the many. This wealth has not materialized out of thin air. It has been accumulated, often through centuries of extraction, exploitation, and unfair trade practices that continue to this day. The legacy of colonialism is still very much alive, shaping the economic realities of the present. The global south is not lacking in resources, it is overflowing with them. From the cobalt in Congo that powers our smartphones to the diamonds of Botswana that adorn our jewelry, the global south has been the source of immense wealth for the global north. The narrative of third world poverty is not just a myth, it is a tool of control. It justifies the continued exploitation of these countries and their resources. It allows the global north to maintain its position of power and privilege. The global south is not lacking in resources, it is overflowing with them. From the fertile lands that produce our food to the minerals that power our technology, these countries are rich in natural wealth. From the cobalt in Congo that powers our smartphones to the diamonds of Botswana that adorn our jewelry, the global south has been the source of immense wealth for the global north. The narrative of third world poverty is not just a myth, it is a tool of control. It justifies the continued exploitation of these countries and their resources. It allows the global north to maintain its position of power and privilege. The global south has been the source of immense wealth for the global north. The narrative of third world poverty is not just a myth, it is a tool of control. It justifies the continued exploitation of these countries and their resources. It allows the global north to maintain its position of power and privilege. The story of global inequality is inextricably linked to the legacy of colonialism. For centuries, European powers ventured into the global south, driven by an insatiable hunger for resources and wealth. They carved up these regions, imposing their will and extracting vast fortunes, often with little regard for the local populations. European powers, driven by an insatiable hunger for resources and wealth, carved up the global south, imposing their will and extracting vast fortunes. They established colonies, exploiting the land and its people to fuel their own economic growth back home. This wasn't just about taking resources, it was about dismantling existing systems of governance, trade, and knowledge. Ancient civilizations with rich histories and complex societies were reduced to mere shadows of their former selves. Indigenous knowledge systems were often disregarded or destroyed, replaced by European ways of thinking and governing. Indigenous industries were destroyed, local economies were undermined, and entire populations were forced into systems of labor that benefited their colonizers. Traditional crafts and trades were replaced by the extraction of raw materials for export, leaving local communities impoverished and dependent. This systematic dismantling created the very conditions of underdevelopment that we see today. The wealth generated from these colonies flowed back to Europe, while the colonized regions were left with depleted resources and broken economies. It's not that these regions lacked the capacity to thrive, it's that they were actively prevented from doing so. Before colonial disruption, many of these societies had thriving markets, advanced architecture, and rich cultural practices. The potential for growth and development was there, but it was stifled by colonial rule. The narrative of the lazy or incapable native served as a convenient justification for this exploitation, a way to mask the brutal reality of colonial greed. Colonial powers propagated these myths to legitimize their actions, but the true story is one of resilience and resistance in the face of overwhelming oppression. Nowhere is this misrepresentation more evident than in the portrayal of Africa. Africa, a continent of 54 diverse nations, each with its own unique history, culture, and trajectory, is often reduced to a monolith of poverty, conflict, and disease. This single story, to borrow from the words of Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, robs the continent of its complexity and reinforces harmful stereotypes. Yes, Africa faces significant challenges, from poverty and inequality to the lingering effects of colonialism and neo-colonialism. But it's also a continent brimming with innovation, creativity, and entrepreneurial spirit. From the tech hubs of Lagos and Nairobi to the burgeoning renewable energy sector in East Africa, Africa is writing its own narrative of progress and resilience. Section 5. Seeds of Change, Local Innovations Challenging Global Inequality. Across the Global South, communities are not waiting for handouts, they are creating their own solutions. In India, self-help groups are empowering women and transforming villages. In Brazil, the favelas are bursting with artistic expression and entrepreneurial ventures. And in Kenya, mobile banking is revolutionizing access to financial services. These grassroots innovations, driven by local knowledge and ingenuity, offer a powerful antidote to the top-down approaches of traditional development. They are a testament to the resilience, the creativity, and the unwavering spirit of the Global South. For a stark illustration of how wealth extraction creates poverty, look no further than the Democratic Republic of Congo. This resource-rich nation, home to vast reserves of cobalt, diamonds, and other valuable minerals, has been ravaged by conflict and instability for decades. But this isn't a story of some inherent African curse, as some would have you believe. It's a direct result of colonial exploitation, Cold War meddling, and ongoing resource grabs by multinational corporations. The Congolese people have seen little benefit from their nation's vast wealth. Instead, they've endured unimaginable suffering, while the profits flow to foreign companies and corrupt officials. This is the true face of global inequality, a system rigged to benefit the few at the expense of the many. The solution to global inequality isn't about pity or handouts. It's about justice. It's about dismantling the systems that perpetuate poverty and exploitation. This means moving beyond the charity model of aid and embracing fair trade practices that empower producers in the Global South. It means investing in local businesses, supporting sustainable development, and ensuring that the benefits of trade are shared equitably. It also means holding corporations accountable for their actions. For too long, multinational companies have operated with impunity in the Global South, extracting resources, exploiting labor, and leaving a trail of environmental devastation in their wake. This era of corporate greed must end. One of the most powerful tools in the fight against global inequality is the power of narrative. For too long, the stories of the Global South have been told by outsiders, often perpetuating harmful stereotypes and reinforcing existing power structures. It's time to amplify the voices of those who have been silenced, to let the Global South speak for itself. From writers and artists to activists and entrepreneurs, a new generation of voices is emerging, challenging the old narratives and offering fresh perspectives on the challenges and opportunities facing their communities. These voices are essential to building a more just and equitable world. The fight against global inequality is not someone else's battle to fight. It's a call to action for all of us, a collective responsibility to create a world where everyone has the opportunity to thrive. We can start by educating ourselves about the true history of colonialism and its ongoing legacy. We can support organizations working on the ground to promote fair trade, sustainable development, and social justice. Most importantly, we can challenge the narrative. We can refuse to accept the single story of poverty and despair. We can choose to see the Global South for what it truly is, a region of immense potential, vibrant cultures, and unwavering resilience. The fight for global justice is a fight worth fighting. Let's fight it together.